What did you say?
For Pete's sake! Oh, forget it.
Whippersnapper. Well, back in my day...
I love it!
Viewer discretion is advised. Go where no man has gone before.
In your face. It'll knock your socks off.
Broadcasting live from sunny 57-degree downtown Cleveland, it's station WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and an Oscar. And as we all know, anything flashing... Well, Grumpy's not flashing. I'd get arrested for that. Anything flashing refers to me, your host, Grumpy, and we're brought to you by this asshole here. We're going to mention him today. Boy, after yesterday's downpour, it was beautifully sunny. 57 degrees, but beautifully sunny. And man, I'll tell you what, it was coming down in sheets. I haven't seen rain like that in years. It was like you'd see, and then a couple of seconds later, and it was raining so bad, I could hardly see the houses across the street. And I figured for sure I was going to be in for a totally soaking wet, flooded basement. And the tablet's locked up. Luckily for me, it came up. There was like a 10-foot diameter circle. It went back down. I hosed the floor down. Good to go. Tablet is froze. I have not had this problem. It's telling me it's giving up the ghost. We're back working. I'll tell you, the last time we had rain and lightning and thunder like we had last night, I would got to say 5-6 years ago. And yeah, maybe 8, because I was still living up the street. And that's when I ended up with 3 foot of water in the basement. But it was kind of hard to explain. You would see like it looked like sheets. Like 1, 2, 3, and it would go by, and then a couple seconds later you'd have another like sheet of rain go by, and another sheet of rain go by, and it you couldn't see across the street. I thought for sure I would be totally flooded. So it got to be the point, it rained for half an hour. I literally sat on the top step and just watched the basement. And if the water would have come flooding in, I would have had to kill the breaker on the furnace, kill the gas on the hot water tank, disconnect the sensors and the computer box from the burner, and pray that I didn't have to go trip the breakers for the washer and dryer, although they are 24 inches off the floor on platforms. There is nothing on the basement floor. Everything is up. Luckily, there were like 6 kitchen tables that got abandoned, and that's everything I have is stacked on these kitchen tables. You don't dare put anything on the floor. There is some shelving along the one wall. I don't dare use the bottom shelf. You have to be very strategic with how you place shit. It's sad. And they're still working on the sewers. I don't think they'll ever get them right. Although it's normal. I grew up with it. I have seen flooded basements as far back as I can remember. 4 years old, 5 years old. When you get a torrential downpour, everybody's basement flood. Matter of fact, there were some neighbors that literally had water hookups in their garages, and their washer and dryer was out in the garage. And a couple of the neighbors had like 20-gallon or 25-gallon hot water tanks. Yeah, we had garages that looked like laundry services because you couldn't trust the basement. There were several houses in the neighborhood that had the washers and dryers were in the kitchen because you didn't dare put anything in the basement. The only thing that was usually susceptible was the hot water tank and the furnace. You didn't dare trust the base. And it's sad I'm going to be 75 in November, 74 years later, and the basement's still flood. But, City of Cleveland, they don't have two nickels to rub together. Every now and then they get a little, stipend of federal money for a little project. But in order to do everything proper, they would need millions. Because every street really needs larger sewer pipes. Not to mention, we have the trucks. You think a street basin gets cleaned? Nope. Only if enough people bitch that, hey, the shit in this sewer is almost to the top. Oh, then they come out with the big truck. I mean, Cleveland was so fucking broke, they couldn't buy salt. Luckily, we didn't have a horrendous winter because they went through all the salt that they had. It is sad because at one time, we had well over 1 million residents. At one point in time, we were named an all-American city, which basically proclaimed that you had well over 1 million residents, and we had industry, and we ain't got shit now. I have seen this city decline so bad. Almost as bad as, Akron. At one time, the city of Akron was one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. Of course, it was also, at one time, the rubber capital of the world. Because we had 4 tire manufacturers in the city of Akron. That's why Akron was called the rubber capital of the world. We had Goodrich, Goodyear, Firestone, and General Tire. And Quaker Oats. People don't realize Quaker Oats was founded in Akron. Akron had big industry. And then Quaker Oats moved to Chicago. But what people don't know, and you can Google Akron Quaker Square, there was a developer that came up with the idea, hey, I can convert all those oat silos into a hotel and restaurant. Because it was done in San Francisco at the Ghirardelli Chocolate Factory. And he got a shitload of investors, and the big money investors happened to be John Travolta, Flip Wilson, Gregory Peck, and Carl Malden. They invested in Akron Quaker Square, And they literally have a hotel and restaurant where you eat and sleep in an old oat silo. I've been down there. It is cool as hell. As you're entering Akron, you see these big, huge silos. And they converted it into a hotel and restaurant. Good old Quaker Square. Oh, really? I wonder if they still sell them. It would be worth the ride to Akron. I will have to look into that. Oh, I'll tell you what. That video is saved in 2 or 3 places because, man, that video brought back a lot of memories because, you know, like I say, my grandfather helped build that place. And I have a lot of fond memories of good old Terminal Tower. I remember the Akron Rubber Bowl, which unfortunately got torn down because I was at the Ozfest in 1996 that was held at the Akron Rubber Bowl. That was a fun day. Oh, man. You talk about some wild shit that went on at the Ozfest. Oy, 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 oy. Although I did get to meet Ozzy. I don't think Ozzy realized if it was day or night, but I got to meet him. I was driving a band that I'd never heard of called Tool. Tool. I guess they're still cranking to this day. I'd never heard of them. But man, oh, I still remember the one Akron cop who said to me, "You have to walk all the way down to that last tent." And it was hot and dusty. And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Just do it." And I had plenty of time to kill. So I walked down to the last tent, which had a crowd of people around it. And there were 2 painters. And there were 2, like, barber chairs. And they were painting band insignias on all the girls' chests. If the girls wanted Ozzy's insignia or Tool or whatever band, They got in line, stripped down half naked, and they got the band insignia painted on their chest. And then they would walk around and flash. Who have you got? Oh, I got Ozzy, you know. I said to the cop, is that legal? He said, hey, Ozzy's funding this place, bringing in money. We're turning an eye. I said, well, two eyes. So I'm in the cafeteria tent, and there was this groupie for Tool. And she was driving me fucking crazy. I want to meet the band. I want to meet the band. I said, I can't take you to meet the band. I want to meet the band. And she kept driving me crazy. And I'm trying to eat. Now I'm in a hot tent, in a three-piece suit, sweating my balls off. And she sits down next to me, and I want to meet the band. I want to meet the band. I said, sweetheart, I can't take you to meet the band. So she kind of gave up for a little bit. And I'm wiping the sweat off my brow, you know, constantly trying to eat my lunch. And she's like, aren't you hot in that suit? And I said, not really. And she's, oh? I said, because I'm not wearing any underwear. And she whips open her blouse and sticks a double in my face and goes, neither am I. I said, sweetheart, that ain't going to get you to meet the band either. Leave me alone. And I'll tell you what, you could get high just walking around the place. And the cops were overlooking it. I mean, there were clouds of wacky tobacco smoke. It was wild. Oh, it was wild. So it came time for Tool to perform. And their manager came and got me and said, the band is getting ready to perform. I was like, yeah. Since you are driving us, we think it would be appropriate if you were backstage. So, I'm not paying any attention. So, there was a folding chair. Well, there were hundreds of them. I set this folding chair down next to this wall. The band hit the first note. And the wall I was sitting next to was a 25-foot wall of speakers. To which point my right eardrum came out the left side, and I couldn't hear for about an hour and a half. They hit that first note. I think every bone in my body vibrated. My eardrums went right through one another. But it was wild. It was wild. But that groupie, she thought for sure when she flashed me she was going to get a special favor to go meet the band. I said, nice pair, put them away, you're not beating the band. And she kind of trundled off, all pissed off. Because I had a big name tag on my suit jacket. Said, Tool. And then, Grumpy. She drove me fucking insane. I want to meet the band. I want to meet the band. I want to meet the band. Get away from me. I wanted to backhand her. I really did. Just one of the many stories of my limousine days. I'll tell you what, I met people that I never even imagined getting close to in a lifetime, let alone meeting them. And some of them were just unbelievable. Like Reba McEntire. She didn't want to sit in the back seat. She wanted to sit next to me and chat. And her manager kept going, you can't sit there. She looked at me and goes, can I sit? I said, you can drive if you want. Sure, you can sit there. What an absolute sweetheart that woman is. Every time I see, she's doing some commercial for something. I can't remember what it is. But every time I see the commercial and I hear that voice, I think of her sitting next to me in the front seat of that limousine. And she was here for 2 days. I spent 24 hours with her. And just the absolute... Oh, I'll tell you what. She was so sweet, sugar wouldn't have melted in her mouth. I am just... She was asking me all about Cleveland, and luckily I knew who she was. I had some people, I had no idea who they were. And then I had... Oh, God, I forgot the name of the band. Oh, shit. We were at Blossom. Oh, God, I can't remember the... Oh, and they were huge, too. I can't remember the... Oh, God. Sucks to get old. All I remember was when we were getting ready to leave. We had two they were extra long Chevy vans. And the manager said, pull the vans up next to the stage, because when they finish their last number, they are going to run off the stage and jump in these vans. And we had sheriff's escorts waiting to escort us out. And then they escorted us all the way from Blossom to Akron Canton Airport, where their private jet was sitting. And I'll tell you what, it was so cool going down the freeway with lights and siren. People had to wonder, who the hell's in them black vans? I can't remember the... It wasn't Aerosmith. Oh God, they were huge. They had done a world tour. Oh shit. It'll come to me. You know, the only problem with Blossom was it was a bitch to get in and out of. Almost as bad as the old Coliseum. And I'll tell you what, the cops are sneaky. Because they would literally sit up in the trees with binoculars and watch for people drinking on the way in. And then if they saw alcoholic beverages, they had a fleet of police cars that would stop and make arrests. But to have cops climb up in fucking trees, I was like, I never heard of such a thing. Because I got warned. And they, other drivers said, hey, if you've got anybody in the back of that car, when you hit a certain area, tell them to put that booze away. Hide it. Because you'll get stopped. And I was like, how are they going to... He goes, cops climb up in the fucking trees with binoculars. And sure enough, driving, I was like, holy shit. They weren't kidding. I'll tell you what, I did many trips out to Blossom. I liked the place. I really did. It was fun place to go. But I'll tell you what. If anybody would have told me in the span of the 5 years that I worked driving limousine, that first of all, that those stars and dignitaries would come to Cleveland, shocked me, let alone me driving them. And I mean, we had, 30 drivers, and we were constantly busy. I did 3 weeks from 8 in the morning to 6 o'clock at night with the 6th richest oil sheik from the United Emirates. He was like a gazillionaire. And daily, Monday through Friday, I would pick him up at the Ritz-Carlton, take him to the Cleveland Clinic, because he was getting some sort of therapy or something. I didn't. And he had one whole floor of the hospital. He rented the whole floor. And it was closed off. Nobody was allowed to go up there. Him. And he had a bodyguard that had custom-made jackets, which covered his custom-made shoulder holsters for his 2 Uzis. Because I bumped into him one day and I kind of elbowed and went, "Are you packing?" And he opened his jacket and I was like, "Holy fuck!" He said, "Are those what I think they are?" And he said, "Yeah, Uzis. 2 of them." And every Thursday, while Dad was getting therapy at the hospital, the son would have me take him to the bank to get a briefcase full of money. He showed me one day. It looked like something you saw in a movie. He opened that briefcase and all I saw was stacks and stacks of hundreds and fifties. I was like, holy shit. Because every Friday, the sheik would like tip half the people in the hospital. And every Friday it was hilarious because the son, when I would drop them at the Ritz on Friday, the son would hand me $200 and he'd say, "Here, go buy yourself a woman." And I was like, "I don't do that." He'd say, "Take the money anyway." So at the end of 3 weeks, now I had the sheik, and there were other drivers that had, oh man, he brought in his own chef 2 or 3 times a week. His private jet would go back over, pick up food, bring it back here. He had furniture that he brought with him. He had a whole floor of the Ritz-Carlton. So the day he left, we all lined up. We had to line up. There were 8 of us. And the sheik would get an envelope from his son, and I was at the other end. He started at that end. He would hand the driver an envelope and thank him. He went down 7 guys, and then he got to me and handed me the envelope, thanked me, and I thanked him. He hardly spoke any English. So the way the trips were billed, the tip was included in the billing. So every day the car would get billed out, and there would be a percentage figured in for my tip. Now, 5 days a week, 3 weeks, was a pretty substantial tip, but it was taxable. The envelope or any cash in hand, we never had to report. If you got cash in the hand, you had to ask. If somebody handed you, like when I would drive Steve Harvey, because his parents lived here at the time, he'd come in to visit his parents and his daughter. If he would hand me money, I would have to ask, does this get figured in to my trip? Do I have to report this? Because then whatever percentage was put on the bill got taken off because you got money. And 99% of the time, the tipper would say, that's for your pocket. Keep your mouth shut. Steve Harvey was always good for $500. I'd pick him up on a Friday. He'd fly in the evening. He would usually eat at the Ritz. Then Saturday he would spend time taking his parents out to and Sunday church and lunch, and then he'd get on a plane and leave. He was always good for $500 for a weekend, which was nice pocket money. Very nice. When the Sheik left, luckily Grumpy kept his mouth shut. Because when we all got back to base and we were sitting around the driver's room, the other 7 drivers said, man, it was nice getting that $1,000 tip. And I just agreed. Because my envelope had $5,000 in it for 3 weeks, not including the daily tip that I got that was taxable. I never saw so many $100 bills in an envelope in my life. I was like, holy yutcha-fuck. And we're talking driving a limousine in Cleveland. Not Hollywood, not Vegas, Cleveland. Now, not every single person stuck money in your hand, but you would eventually get your tip in your paycheck, Another real memorable trip was with Bob Costas. He was in doing the play-by-play when the Indians were playing New York to see who was going to go to the World Series in '96. And Costas was doing the national for NBC. And what was Morgan? Joe Morgan? I think it was Joe Morgan. He was a retired baseball player doing the color, they call it the color broadcast, you know. So the last game, Costas had made a comment how beautiful Progressive Stadium was. Well, Jacobs at the time. And I said, I've never seen it. Because the driver, when we would take, like, if somebody would hire a limousine to go to the ball game, we were in the sub-basement in a driver's room watching TV. We couldn't go up. And I explained this to Bob Costas. So he says to me, at the end of the third inning, go to the NBC trailer and tell them you're my guest. Okay. So I'm downstairs listening to the game. End of the third inning. I said to the guys, I gotta go. I'll be back. So I trundle over to the NBC trailer, and the girl said, yes. I said, I'm Mr. Costas's guest. Oh, hold on. She gets on a two-way radio. We need the escort here at the trailer. I'm thinking, an escort? Oh, man. Costas really, he bought me an escort. Holy shit. Wrong kind of escort. So this young guy comes up and he goes, come with me. We go to the elevator. We go upstairs. And we're walking through the press box. Because he told me, he says, I'm going to take you to where you're going to be seated. And I'm thinking, this is cool, in the press box. Holy shit. Not. We wait for the red light to go off. He opens the door, and it's the announcing booth. And here's Costa sitting here, and Joe Morgan sitting here, and there's a chair in between the two of them. And Bob turned and he went, Grumpy, have a seat. One of the best fucking seats in the stadium. You talk about a view. Holy shit. The only thing I had to keep my mouth shut when the red light came on. Because they were calling the game, and Joe Morgan, he was a dead fish. Didn't even say hello to me. I don't know why. You talk about the royal treatment. A waiter comes over and, would you like a dog or a burger or both? I said, let me start with a burger. I get a meal fit for a king. That goddamn burger must have been half a pound. steak fries. I'm sitting there eating. Costas had gourmet hot dogs. They had more shit piled on them. I get done with the burger. It's about the end of the seventh inning. And I said to the waiter, I said, can I get one of them hot dogs? It was like a foot long, piled like this high. So the next day, that was the last day of the game. Unfortunately, New York took the series between the Indians and New York. So I get to the Ritz to pick Costas up, and there's an NBC truck parked in front of the Ritz. And when Costas come out, he motioned to the guy at the NBC truck and he said, take care of my driver. He brings me over an NBC hat, an NBC golf umbrella with the big peacock on it, and an NBC jacket. He asked me, what size you wear? Embroidered jacket with the big peacock on the back of it. NBC, I'll have it here tomorrow. We get to the airport. I get Costas's bags out of the car. The luggage guy with the cart takes his bags. And Costas flipped me $300. And I says, is this for my pocket or is this got to be reported? He said, don't you dare report that. Work for me. I had book authors, you name it. I had senators, congressmen, movie stars, TV stars, football players. I don't know how many trips I made down to the Hall of Fame in Canton, the Football Hall of Fame. Several trips to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. One behind the scenes tour. That was with Dana Delaney. She used to star in China Beach, if anybody remembers that series. She was also the voice of Lois Lane in the Superman movie. I thought she was going to get me fired that day. Oh, God. I drop her off because they have in the back of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they have an executive entrance. And when you got movie stars and so on and so forth, the head honcho of the Hall of Fame meets them. So he introduced himself to Dana. She was another one sat in the front seat with me. What a cutie. Oh, my God. So I says to her, when you come out, I'll be parked directly over there. I will immediately pull the car up and pick you up. She went, no, you won't. I have to park the car. She goes, you're coming in with me. I said, chauffeurs don't come in with the guests. To which the head of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame said, that's correct. The chauffeurs don't come in with the guests. And Dana goes, if he don't come in, I don't come in. And I was like, holy fuck, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get killed. I'm sitting there going, no, Dana, no. It don't work that way. And she reiterated, if my driver doesn't come in, I'm not coming in. We'll sit in the car. My staff can go on your tour. Finally, he said, okay. So we're down like in the catacombs of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with all the artifacts. And Dana was a big John Lennon fan. And the head of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame said, oh, well, we happen to have a pair of his glasses. And he takes them out of the case, and he goes, would you like to hold them? And she's like, oh, yeah, cool, you know. She's like, wow, yeah. And she goes, here, you want to see him? I very gingerly went, oh, very nice. Passed them back. Oh, man. Good times, I'll tell you what. I had so many performers. I have got a list. I made a list starting like from day one of all the influential people that I drove. One day I will dig the list out. I know where it's at, I think, because it was amazing. I look at that list every now and then, and I'm like, I can't believe these people came to this dumpy town called Cleveland. Because we are. We really don't have anything to draw except the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but people don't, the Kardashians aren't going to come in to see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, maybe, I don't know. I mean, the last thing I would think of is if I was a big movie star, say, oh, I'm going to go to Cleveland this week. Utterly unbelievable. I miss the money. And I miss meeting the people. I don't miss the hours. Oh, my God. I had one trip. I still don't understand why it was done this way. I picked up a young woman and, oh God, I think her son was 5 or 6 years old, at Hopkins, and drove her to Lake Chautauqua, New York. Aren't there any flights that fly in anywhere near Lake Chautauqua, New York? That is a long drive. Now, she flew in from either LA or San Francisco, her and her 5 or 6 year old, which, believe me, the kid didn't want to be in that car for that long a time. And his favorite snack was goldfish. Well, I think she must have had a 30-pound box of goldfish. Because when I got done with the trip and got the car back to the garage, there must have been 20 pounds of goldfish in the back seat of that car. That was a haul. And I don't understand why she landed in Cleveland. There has got to be an airport somewhere around Lake Chautauqua, New York. That was not a fun trip because that kid really, I mean, I don't, what 5-year or 6-year-old wants to be hemmed up in a car that long? Not to mention getting off a plane. It was a good paying trip. It just killed me. But that was some of the goofy shit I used to do. I remember having to drive down to oh God, what the hell was the name of the goddamn city in southern Ohio? Oh, I can't remember. It was like 10 miles away from the Columbus airport. I had to drive down to whatever this city was and pick this guy up and bring him to Hopkins. Don't they have a little junket flight from Columbus to Cleveland? You're paying a limousine to pick you up and bring you to Hopkins from 10 miles outside of Columbus Airport? These were the goofy things. I don't understand people. There's got to be a commuter plane that goes from Columbus to Cleveland. Some airline has got to go from Columbus to Cleveland. It would have been a lot cheaper to take the plane and faster. I didn't question. I didn't question any. After I got done with the trips like that one, I was like, what was that guy thinking? we did a lot of stuff for Make-A-Wish. Now, 99.9% of the Make-A-Wish stuff is they fly the family to Disney to meet Mickey. You know, it's the rare ones where a kid wants to meet the Kardashians, you know. I remember having to pick up a family in the heart of Cleveland's ghetto. I'll tell you what. I wouldn't have driven in there on a sunny day with a police escort, let alone go in a limo. And they didn't own suitcases. They had their luggage in garbage bags. I stuffed the trunk of that limousine with garbage bags, dropped them at Hopkins, and the luggage guy, when I opened the trunk, asked me why I was bringing garbage bags out and putting them on his cart. And I said, this is their luggage. And they got flown by Make-A-Wish to Disney to see Mickey and Minnie and Goofy. Yeah, trunk full of garbage bags. Okay, I need help on this one because I just went blank again. Who was the woman that used to be on Carson from the San Diego Zoo? Because I'll tell that story and then move on to a couple other things. Jim Fowler was the guy. Who was the woman? They used to be on Carson all the time and bring animals from the San Diego Zoo. I can't think of her name. I always remember Jim Fowler. I can never remember her name. And she was on more than Fowler. I can't think of her name. I always remember Fowler. But she was on more than Jim Fowler. And I can never remember her damn name. And I should, because when she flew into Cleveland, she made a huge impression on me. Come on, Kathy, you're usually my saver. Help me out. The hell was her name? I'm drawing a dead blank. I can see her. I can't remember her name. And she was on Carson a lot. Because I remember when she brought the marmoset and it crawled up on Johnny's head and took a piss. I still remember that show. The marmoset climbed up, it was sitting on Johnny's head, and when she went to remove it, it pissed on his head. Because Johnny went, was that spit? And she was like, no. He goes, was that what I think it was? And I mean, the audience went crazy. Because at that point, everybody realized that the marmoset pissed on his head. I knew you would save me, Joan Embry. God, I can never remember her name. I knew it. I knew you'd save me. I get this trip to go to the airport to pick her up. She was doing some animal rights thing. No. She was doing a program on how they were working with Africa to save the cheetahs. So I get out to Burke Lakefront Airport. Her jet touches down. And I always thought this was cool because you would pull a limousine right out onto the tarmac and pick the people up right off the jet. I always thought that was so cool. Because you'd get an escort, you'd have to wait for the tower to clear, and you'd get a escort vehicle to take you out on the tarmac. So I pull up, and I open the back door of the limousine, and down comes the stairs. And as I go to greet Joan, there's a fucking cheetah standing at the top of the stairs. And I was like, holy shit. And she's got it on a leash. And it was like a little doggy. It come down the stairs and it sat. And I said, can I pet him? She was, oh yeah. I'm petting him and he starts purring. Well, he sounded like a motorboat. She gets in, he gets in the back seat of the limo and he's sitting right next to her. I get the luggage in. We head to the Ritz-Carlton. We pull up out front. And, of course, you get the Ritz treatment. Two guys, two young black kids, in their fancy Ritz-Carlton uniform, run out, and I'm coming around the back end of the limo, and I go, don't open that door. Well, it was too late. He opened the door, and the cheetah stuck his head out, and that black kid turned as white as this bridge. The blood went right out of, he just, out steps the cheetah. He stepped away to get the luggage. And this thing just pranced on the leash. And I says to her, where's he going to stay? And she goes, oh, he sleeps on the bed with me. Like a big kitty cat. So the next morning, I picked her up and we went, oh God, I can't remember. It was some big luncheon. And the looks on people's faces when that cheetah steps out of the back end of the car. But I'll tell you what, when that door came down off that plane and he popped his head out like, where are we? And I almost had to change my underwear because I've never seen a cat that big. I've never been close to a cat that big. But boy, he was as docile. Oh, I'm sitting there petting him. And her secretary goes, you want to get the luggage? Quit playing with the cat. I was half tempted to say, can he sit in the front seat with me? And it was a day I forgot my camera and my cell phone. Because we had two-way radios. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be bothered with my cell. I left it in the car. I left the camera in the car, not knowing I was going to be petting a cheetah. I would love to have had a picture of me when that door came down and that thing stuck his head out like, where are we? I don't know why I can never remember Joan's name, because that trip made a real impression on me. Matter of fact, every time Carson was on, I'd be like, you know, they'd say, oh, we got visitors from the San Diego Zoo. And I'd be like, I hope it's Joan. What a job. And, you know, I tell kids, and they think I'm making this shit up. You know, one day I was over at my buddy's house, and the commercial came on for whatever Joan Embry's hawking. And I said, oh, God, I met her. What a sweetheart. And my buddy's daughter, now she's 26, 27. She's like, oh, yeah, right. You met Reba McEntire. I said, I not only met her, she sat in the car next to me. Oh, yeah, right. Telling stories again. Yeah. A good story. The lucky thing for me, we were not allowed to ask for autographs. That was taboo. But with my son having the same name as me, I could ask for an autograph for my son. And somewhere I have a scrapbook with all the autographs in it. Because they would make it out, you know, to Grumpy the Second, because he had a Roman numeral. That was the way I got away with it. Can I get an autograph from my son? Sure. What's his name? Roman numeral. Absolutely unbelievable. Good times. I hated the hours. Oh, I hated the hours. When they had the grand opening of the Rock Hall of Fame, I had some music producer. We had, and it was more than one limo company. God, I can't remember how many different limo services. We were there from like 7 in the morning until like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I'll tell you what, there are only so many ways you can sleep in the front seat of a car. That job literally ruined my back. I had a bad back to begin with. There were many times like that where you would be with somebody 12, 14 hours and you would drive like 10 minutes and then they would be gone for 4 or 5 hours and you drive 10 minutes this way and they'd be gone another 4 or 5 hours. And you couldn't leave the car. You had to stay with the car. You couldn't sleep in the back of the car because that was their territory. Like I say, I loved meeting the people. At that time, I enjoyed driving. I was doing anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 miles a month. Because shortly after I started, I would record the mileage from my trip, starting and ending. And at the end of the month, it was like, Jesus Christ, 6,000 miles last month? Although I preferred the stretch Lincolns over the Cadillacs because the Lincolns had more padding in the seats. They were more comfortable. Not to mention the Lincoln, you'd push a button and you could adjust the pedals up and down. So if it got to the point I had to stretch out while I was driving, I'd put the pedals all the way down. And then when my leg was back, I could pull the pedals back, not to mention tilting the wheel. But I loved the Lincolns because they had the adjustable pedals. Not to mention they had more guts, too. Bigger engines. I'll tell you what, I barely made it to airtime because I'm hooked on this goddamn Food Noodles channel. There were 2 goddamn restaurants today. They don't realize. Now, they name their restaurant, and it means something in Japanese. When you look at the name on the building as an American, it makes no sense. The one restaurant was MI-FUK. Now, the guy pronounced it me fook. It don't look like me fook. It looks like my fuck. The second restaurant was Puck Muck Fuck. PUKMUKFUK. Puck Muck Fuck. I get such a laugh out of the names of these restaurants. I could see one being like here in the neighborhood. Where are you going to dinner? Oh, I'm going to go for Chinese food. Which restaurant? My fuck. What? Or I'm going to Puck Muck Fuck. Oh, God, some of them names. Jesus Christ. And, oh. I thought the portions the other day were huge. I don't see how them little people, and I mean, there were some tiny women that would order these dishes, and it would come out, and it would have like 8 pounds of noodles and 6 pounds of meat. And they finished the bowl empty. Where do they put that shit? You know, the one had 4 big pork cutlets and 2 huge chicken cutlets and a pile of vegetables and noodles and soup. And then she got a side dish of fried rice. I'm like, the woman couldn't have weighed 90 pounds. And I'll tell you what, rarely do you see anybody leave any food in a bowl. Those dishes go back as clean as they started. And the piles, I don't know how they make a profit. I really don't. Because you look at the prices, and they are extremely reasonable. I mean, you would think some of these meals would be double. And they just pile and pile and pile. There was one place, they called it the Golden Tower Sundae. It started with a sundae glass. They put fruit in the bottom. And then there was like 10 scoops of ice cream. When they brought this thing out, and I mean, they covered it with custard and whipped cream. When they brought this sundae out, it had to be almost 3 foot tall. The Golden Tower Sundae. People in the restaurant were in awe. Now, 3 people shared it. You wouldn't see that here. And they finished it. But it was almost 3 foot tall. I don't know how the ice cream didn't fall over. Because he just kept stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking. I am in awe at the size of those portions. And rarely do you see a dish that's got anything left in it? Did you see the one with the mega burger? That guy ordered that goddamn hamburger. There must have been 6 pounds of meat in that hamburger. The bun was the size of a garbage can lid. And he killed that sandwich. And according to the restaurant, they have one that's bigger than that one. I'm in awe. These little spindly people that a sneeze could knock over, and they put 9 pounds of food away and just about lick the bowls. And then they go to work. I'd have to go take a nap. It's just, I don't know how restaurants make a profit. Because every proprietor was complaining the prices keep going up. Like one of the most, which really shocks me, they said the price of rice. They grow that shit everywhere. And they say that it's like one of the most expensive things of all their product. And almost every restaurant, free refills. The one restaurant, unlimited. You could have as much rice as you wanted as long as you finished it. One guy went back like 5 times. I'm like, where do they put? They must have like a hollow leg. They pull a trap door and the food drops down into their empty legs. I am so hooked on that channel. Oh, every restaurant, top notch. You know, a lot of restaurants here, they buy everything bagged. Bagged salad, bagged this. Not over there. They go to the market every day. They get deliveries every day. Everything is all hand prepped. Amazing. Did you see? Now, a couple of the restaurants had them. The fried rice machines. I thought that was unique. That somebody invented a machine that makes fried rice. The bowl spins and it's got a wheel that keeps churning the rice, and they just dump the ingredients in, and the fucking machine. And everybody comments it tastes the same as if somebody made it by hand in a wok. I kind of like the fried rice machine. If they made a small kitchen size one, I would buy one. I have tried making fried rice. And I'll tell you what, I have been really paying close attention every time someone makes fried rice because I want to try making it. Because I have a wok, and I've got the wok tools, and it's got this cone that goes over the burner. Now, I don't know how well it would work with an electric. When I had the gas range, you could, because the cone goes over the burner, and then you set the wok on the cone, and it's like a Chinese restaurant. First of all, I can't flip. The first time I tried, I had rice everywhere. So I got the wok tools. Mine comes out as dry as cardboard. And I did, start with the egg and then dump the rice in and start chopping and flipping. And I've been paying real close attention because I know they add soy sauce and they add a little bit of water while they're cooking it to steam. Because I love fried rice. But man, the first time I went to flip, and I've been told you tilt the pan downward and you bring the pan up and flip backward. There is an art to flipping food. Another thing I'm thinking of ordering is one of them omelet pans. I think I could do an omelet the way they do because it would be trial and error folding it. But man, when they come out with them big, thick, fluff, oh man, I would love to make an omelet like that. I was looking at a couple of non-stick ones on eBay, like $15. I might just order one. But it is unbelievable, the portions. And it seems like every restaurant tries to outdo the next one. If this one puts 3 chicken cutlets, the one down the street puts 4. And them chicken cutlets, Jesus Christ, some of them don't fit on the plate. And then everybody's got a secret sauce. And boy, do they like mayonnaise. They put mayonnaise on everything. I watched yesterday a guy put mayonnaise in his miso soup. It's mayonnaise and ketchup. They put ketchup in everything. But what really is the mayonnaise? They'll put them fluffy eggs, and then they drown it in ketchup, and then they drown it in mayonnaise. Unbelievable. The one restaurant, I can't remember. Well, they all kind of served the same. But as the waitress would bring the food out, they would encourage, oh, try it with mayonnaise. And, you know, there's mayonnaise right on the table. Oh, God, yeah. Order a takeout box with a whole fucking chicken. And the takeout boxes, even without the whole chicken, they put like a whole chicken. They can't close the lids. But that one shocked me when the guy deep fried a whole chicken and then put it in a takeout box. And 5 pounds of rice, you know. I don't know how they don't fall asleep at their desk after, you know, after lunch. The portions are, I wish I could go there just to try. I'll tell you what, the breaded chicken cutlets look fantastic. And the pork, and the breadcrumbs are like shredded bread. They're not panko because they're very light and fluffy. I'm sure if I went to Chinatown to the Asian market, I'm sure they sell them fluffy breadcrumbs. I'm really thinking of buying a small deep fryer and getting into, because I could fillet a chicken breast the way they did to open it up. And I could do the same thing with a pork cutlet. If you get it thick enough, you can open it up like they do, butterfly it. I would really like to try it. I'm really considering ordering a deep fryer. I had one, but it was like a commercial one. Christ, it was like 6 quarts and 2 baskets, and I gave it away. Because I could go up to Gordon Food Service in Lakewood. It's a restaurant supply that's open to the public. Oh, I never... Yeah, I got a food processor. I could probably do it in a food processor. Watching this goddamn YouTube channel has got me wanting to really cook again, rather than just doing simple shit every night. I would have to adjust my dinner time. But I would, oh man, seeing that food, now I know there'd be a lot of trial and error to get it right. But if I could come out with fried chicken and fried cutlets the way they do them, I'd weigh 700 pounds. Yeah, mention that to my doctor. Oh, I bought a deep fryer. You what? Yeah, it's a quart and a half. It would be perfect for me, one person. You know, even if I went up to Gordon's and got, you know, veal cutlets or pork cutlets already breaded. Because I love both. And get, you know, boneless chicken and butterfly it and bread it. And although instead of flour, they use cornstarch. I've noticed that. They put it in the cornstarch first, then in the egg mixture, and then into the breadcrumbs. There must be something about cornstarch versus flour, because every restaurant uses cornstarch. That might do something with the deep frying too. I've been making a list, you know, cornstarch. I would tend to think to make the breadcrumbs you would use like maybe a day-old loaf of bread rather than one super fresh. That's going to be the experiment. But watching this makes me want to make some real food. Not that I don't eat real food, but I love deep fried shit. I really do. Somebody heard the word food. Bull, you're late. You're late. Your belly alarm just went off? Just sitting there looking at me. Bait me. Oh, we kind of make up for not being here last night. But man, I'll tell you what, there'd have been no way. Oh, I'd have gone insane sitting here with that rain going, oh, my basement. Which is sad. It's sad that this damn city in over 75 years still does not care about the goddamn residents. Do you use fresh? I'll try it. I just have to, like I say, it's going to be a lot of trial and error. Because you got to, you know, you got to get it all breaded and then frying temperature. Of course, I'm sure their deep fryers are cranking about 400 degrees. All of the one guy commented, one was like 130, one fryer was like 160, one was 190. That's another trial and error. Play with the frying temperature. And then gauging it, you know, how long does it take? 4 minutes, 6 minutes. Oh, all right. Don't reach up. Don't reach up. He did that this morning. I wasn't paying attention to him. And when I ignore him, he wants to get my attention. He stuck his feet in the chair. Luckily, he didn't pull anything or leave any nail marks. So all I gotta do is screw up this chair. I'll try it. Yeah. Keep checking it. Yeah, it's got a pulse button on the top of it. It's an expensive food processor. It's a oysterizer, something. I paid good money for it. Oster? All I know is it was expensive. And boy, I'll tell you what, when I get done using it, I clean everything right away. You spend that much money for a goddamn piece of a appliance. Okay, geez, somebody getting impatient. God damn.
That's it, I'm through.
Oh, I gotta feed the belly. He's getting real impatient here. I also ordered something really cute off of Temu. Tuxedo cat pictures. Wait till you see it. Okay. Oh, the sad eyes. We know where, right here, WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and an Oscar. All right, everybody, thanks for being here. It was a fun night. Kathy saved me with Joan Embry. All right, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will meet right back here tomorrow night. And with that, see ya! Yeah, I know. Oh, man, I paid big bucks for that back in the 70s. But it still works like new. All right. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.